viewers.
Okay.
We are the live, I think.
You're out there.
Do you like my background for today, Zito, when you check it out?
I can't see anything. I'm gonna need a link.
Well, first of all, we gotta say sorry for the delay, everybody. We had some, I don't know, technical difficulties, say?
Yeah, we're still down 2 people right now, Evader and Hawk, and when they get here, you guys in chat,
make sure to tell them all off.
Tell them off. It's their
Tell
fault.
them they're a bunch of stinky socks. Because that'll hurt them. That'll hit them right in the spot. So, hold on. We got 4 viewers. We gotta wait for at least another 10 to get here. I guess...
Well, I mean, we should probably wait, like, talk about something else for a couple of minutes, just so Hawk and Evader can come here as well.
If they'll be there in time.
Yeah. What's everybody been doing today, then?
I've been playing Battlefield 3 the most of my day, I would say, because I haven't had anything better to do. I've been trying to get I'm trying to hit 10,000 kills, and I'm about 1,000 kills away from it, and I reached, like, 4,000 kills in a day.
Oh, look who decided to turn up. Thanks, guys.
Something I'm nuts.
We delayed it by 10 minutes, and you're 7 minutes late to the delay. That's a new record.
So, yeah, I think our topic for tonight is, it's going to be the long-awaited religion debate, I think.
If you're all happy, make sure this'll be a good Oddpod, so make sure to tell everybody. Just, you know what you guys do? Everybody in the chat, copy and paste the link, and post it to every single contact you know on Skype, or post it on your Facebook, so that way we'll get the word out.
I'm streaming it, so I got to choose the background. So the background's slightly biased towards my views. Well, let me just say that.
Well, it's okay. Your views are wrong.
This is gonna be a heated debate, everybody. Everybody's got a...
That won't be heated.
Well, it'll be a better debate than E3,
Passionate.
I would say.
Passionate debate.
Very passionate.
A lot of emotion flowing in the atmosphere.
I don't really know how to get it started, really. How do you start talking about? How do you broach the subject?
Well, first you have to start spewing ignorance and disbelief, and then I'll come back with the right answer for you. So go ahead.
Snap.
I'd like to get feedback from people in chat on this as well, just so that we can from both perspectives, like, address their questions as well. And I mean, neither of us are like experts. I'm not like biological I'm not a science guy. And I'm guessing, Zito, you're not like a member of the clergy or anything, are you?
I did go to seminary school for a while, so...
Oh, okay, so kind of. There you go. And I'm just smart, so that'll do.
I'm a bumpkin.
Some people don't like talking about their beliefs. P Daddy's on the winning side. Cheers, P Daddy.
Which side's the winning side?
That would be mine.
Well, I'm going to put it like this. I'm not going to force anyone to follow what I believe, but when I'm happy and you're all just burning forever and ever, just remember, I put the invite out there.
Okay, so, I mean, I don't know everybody's beliefs in this call. Does anybody, like, want to not say what they believe, or is anybody, like, kind of secretive about their beliefs in this call?
I want to be a ghost.
You can't be a ghost, Bradley.
Oh. Alright.
I'm sorry.
It's true, Bradley. You can't be a ghost. You can't have guns. No, you can't have anything that hurts people. I gave you mace and you blew it, so no, nothing for you.
We made you the animal control officer on the server, and You just went round on a rampage, killing everything.
Hey, I put Deck the wall.
I'm really struggling to. What's this? Vengaza.org. Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. No, I find that ridiculous as well. Because I don't know how to take it. Like, when I first heard about it, I thought it was like a mockery of organized religion. But then, if you actually read about it, I mean, I don't know if it's just sarcasm. It must be sarcasm. You can't really have people who believe in the Flying Spaghetti Monster.
I'd like to put it out there that the Flying Spaghetti Monster goes on the same shelf as Baroni's and all that other horrid shit that hipsters come up with on the internet.
Only the Pastafarianism has actually spread into I don't know, you wouldn't call it a full-fledged religion, but I think it's a little more harsh than Bronyism, I would say. I don't know.
I think we're slightly going off on a tangent. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to go through the people in the call and ask them a very simple question. Do you believe in God? If you don't want to say, you can say I don't want to say. But Bradley, do you believe in God?
Certain instance.
Sorry?
But, sure.
You do? Okay. Haku?
I like to believe there's someone.
So is that what you
yeah.
like and what is actually true? You do you believe there is a God?
Yeah.
Okay. Zito, you're pretty much yes, and that's a given. Aveda?
I hope there's a God, but
Do you believe
it's
there's a
not
God?
guaranteed. I hope there is one. I try to find the aspect that it is, but it's not that there,
And Melk, you kind of answered me earlier, but you believe there's a God also.
Yeah, I would say yes.
Wow, I'm a minority here. That's a sad thing. Okay.
Did you say you're agnostic?
No, I'm an atheist.
Evader.
Yeah.
Pete Eddy said don't dodge the question. You need to answer. It's a pretty black and white question.
Yes or no?
There's no about it. Do you believe in God? Yes or no?
I can say yes, but
There you go.
I don't
That's all you have to
go
say.
follow the teachings.
No,
of the
Evader,
church,
you're acting like your own dodgy politician self.
Yeah,
I'm not a politician. What's wrong with
It's
you?
a basic question. Do you believe in God? Yes or no? You said yes.
The question is, which yes or no?
We don't have
We gotta
to
ask
explore the
this.
oohs and ahs of your answer. Yes, you have faith. You believe.
Okay. So, I mean, I guess, I'm the minority here, obviously, then. It's 5 versus 1, Sad or me. So, which is fine, it's going, it's always been the case. I mean, it seems to be changing, though, from my perspective. I mean, you've got, I don't know the exact percentages, but, the percentage of atheists in America is growing quite quickly, and I'm assuming that's, the same.
You blame them?
No, not at all. I don't blame them at all, because I agree with them.
Yeah.
But I mean, I guess the most fundamental and difficult point for me, and I was talking to Melk about this earlier, and I'm putting the same question to you guys. You guys have faith, you believe, and this is the problem that I have with faith, and it's a requirement to believe something with no logical good reason to believe it, no proof, and that begs the question then, does belief matter? Wouldn't you want to get rid of false beliefs, especially when beliefs affect your actions? And for me, people need to be able to justify their beliefs with logical, sound backing, something tangible. And, I happen to care about whether or not my beliefs are true. If you're happy not caring that your beliefs may or may not be true, if it brings you comfort and you just think, I don't care, good for you, but I need to know that what I believe in is true. So, I mean, what would you say to that? Why do you have faith? What prompts you to have faith?
I guess the thing for me is because I've never gone to church in my life. It is that comforting thing because it brings me unrest to think that there is nothing after death.
But that's a feeling. That's no proof that your faith
Yeah,
is...
that's what I'm talking about. I mean, I can't give you proof because I don't know. I'm not very religious. If Zito can, I don't think there is any.
I can answer the question, but you're not going to believe it anyway.
Okay, yeah,
So-
well, no, answer it. You know, I mean, we're here to get both sides, so go ahead.
I know that he exists because he's spoken to me, and that you can denounce that as schizophrenia or some other mental illness, but it's true. He's spoken
how are you
directly
gonna prove
to me
that?
and through me.
I've got no, I've got no comeback to that, because from my perspective, and don't get me wrong, I like you, Zito, but from my perspective, that to me is just nuts. It makes you insane.
Exactly, and that's what a non-believer would naturally go with, and I accept that. Because when you hear voices in your head, you're mentally disturbed.
Yeah. So how do you know that this is God and not some, something going on in your head?
Well, normally when you have a schizophrenic episode, it's a dog telling you what to do.
What?
And, no, seriously, most people are told to kill their neighbor because the dog said to. I know this is real because during prayer, this is when it happens. It's not like I'm just driving around and all of a sudden some voice is like, hey, let's do this. And I'm like, alright, cool.
Okay, so
It's the enlightenment reached through prayer or meditation if you prefer, but that's where it comes from.
okay, and so I mean, I can understand your perspective. You've had, a personal experience, and that's why you have the faith that you do have. But what about everybody else? I mean, have you had God talking to you? Hawk, Bradley,
Nope.
Aveda?
No.
No.
So what's your reasoning for having this faith?
I like to believe there's something there just for
Yeah, but
support.
this is where it gets a little bit muddy, though. I'm not asking what you'd like to believe or what you believe. I'm asking you, what is it that makes you believe what you believe? There must be some proof to you that your beliefs are correct. Otherwise, what's the point in having them?
There's no proof.
So
I mean, a lot of people can say that there's the proof because of the Bible, but I mean, anybody could. If you look at L. Ron Hubbard, who invented Scientology, anybody can write a book about religion, which is the thing. Because I wouldn't even call the Bible solid proof that there is a God. That's just my point of view. Because I could probably sit down and write a book about religion and call it my religion. I don't know, Melchiism, and people might even believe me. If
What
I'm
would you call the Bible then? If
A
you
book.
wouldn't call it a book, a
book.
fictional book.
Yes, definitely.
So the historical accuracies depicted in the places that describe to modern day geography and historical findings, it's still fiction. They found the places described in the Bible. I'm not saying the Bible's all fact, but I'm saying they have found these places.
Okay.
So is that fiction?
Okay, but you have, for example, on the same,
Well,
from the same
in
perspective-
the same breath, if you're calling it fictional, that means all your books where you learned about your history and stuff are also fiction. Therefore, saying if you weren't there to see it, it never happened, making it fiction. So we weren't around for the Crusades, so that would make that fiction.
Okay.
World War II, we've seen pictures, but we weren't there for World War II, so that's fictional. That never happened.
Okay. All right.
It's the same boat.
Let me put it this way then. We have movies, for example. You put it into a context more people can relate to. For example, Predator. That's based in a city that is fact, but it's clearly a fictional movie.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a fictional movie because it's written and such. It's not a documentary.
And I mean, going to the Bible then. Zito, how old do you think the world is?
How old I think the world's really old.
Okay.
I don't look at the Bible as the founding point for the beginning of time. I look at the Bible as the beginning of man, not the beginning of time. The beginning of recorded history of man.
Okay, but many
Not-
of...
Not denouncing the dinosaurs or anything like that. I'm saying that about 6,000 years ago, the first actual functioning city began recording their information.
Okay, but do you consider the Bible as the Word of God?
It depends. Are we talking the Old Testament or the New Testament?
Either. I mean, the New
Because
Testament...
the New Testament is teachings of Jesus through his disciples.
Mhm.
The Old Testament is the wrath of God cleansing the earth.
Okay.
So, have you read the Bible ever, or are you just so atheist you can't bring yourself to even look at
Have
it?
I read the whole thing? No, definitely not.
Have you read anything from the Bible?
I mean, yeah, I've read parts of it. Nothing that I can consider worth remembering, if I'm honest. So I couldn't quote you any passages or anything.
Oh no, I wouldn't expect you to be able to quote anything directly. But my main point here is if you haven't actually read it, and I mean read the whole thing, not just little bits and pieces, you're not overly qualified to tear it apart.
Okay,
Just like I can't attack atheism to the extent that I would like to because I don't know all the historical accuracies about atheism.
no, and that's fine. You know, we're amateurs having a debate here. You know, we're not experts in either of the subject. This is just regular people having, a discussion. So we're not going to be, perfect. We're not going to know everything, and that's what this discussion's about. I don't.
I mean, wouldn't the same thing apply for the Bible? Is don't judge a book by its cover? I mean, I can't criticize the Bible because I've never read it in my life, so I can't really talk
Earlier
about.
you did. You just called it a book. Therefore, you criticize
That's why I criticize it. I mean, that's why I meant I can't criticize it without anybody taking me seriously because I've never read the book, the Bible. I mean,
So
see,
back to the question, because I'm not sure you answered it. So you brought up obviously the New and the Old Testament. So do you consider either of those to be the Word of God?
The New Testament is the teachings of Jesus directly from God. Right? That's
Okay.
how that works. The Old Testament is sort of setting everything up. It's really long and detailed, and it's actually the beginning of the church starts in the Old Testament, but it doesn't actually extend anywhere in great detail till you get like a few thousand years later, which is into the New Testament.
Okay. I mean, I guess the main issue that I have with the Bible is that it's not original. And what I mean by that is, as an example, Krishna, 1,000 years before Christ, he was born of a virgin, baptized in a river, he was a carpenter. Then you've got the Persian god Mithra, born 600 years before Christ, performed miracles, born on the 25th of December, resurrected on the third day, known as the Lamb, the Light, the Saviour, the Way, the Truth, etc. Then you've got like all the religions from the Mediterranean. Many of the gods were born on the 25th of December. You've got Horus, who was born 1280 BC. He was the son of god Osiris, born to a virgin mother, baptized in a river by Anup the Baptizer, who was later beheaded. Horus was tempted whilst alone in the desert. He healed the sick, the blind, cast out demons, walked on water, raised Lazarus from the dead. He had 12 disciples, and he was crucified and resurrected 3 days later. And that's over 1,000 years before Christ was even around. So the Bible is not original. It's been duplicated many times, and basically the names have been changed in it.
I'm just on the internet right now hunting down where you get your facts from.
Yeah, of course, yeah. Look at the Iliad, for example. That book was around thousands of years before the Bible.
I mean, in the time being, while we get all our facts straight, P. Daddy did ask a question earlier.
Okay.
I'd like to know everyone's stance on organized religion. I guess he means those religions like Scientology,
I think in general,
Pastafarianism.
organized religion, Christianity, going to churches, being part of congregations, stuff like that. That's what I think he's saying.
I mean, I
In
can
general.
ask P. Daddy again. Which religion? Did you mean it in general or?
Yeah, just in general.
I guess. to be honest, I don't have, alright, in general, organized religions.
I don't really think I need to comment on that.
Yeah, I don't have a steady stance on anything, really, if you think about it. I mean, there's religions that do get me angry. What gets me angry are these wars. I mean, the wars about religion. We've had these, I don't know, since forever. I mean, there's always those beliefs. It's basically we just all can't get along because I don't know. Oh my god, I can't speak today. Because, well, two people can't get along because of their religion. And then there's Scientology. If that's what I understand under Scientology is an organized religion where to test if you're a Scientologist, you got to pay about $500.
It's a funded religion. It's not I wouldn't call it a religion, really. It's just a joke,
I mean,
in my opinion.
for some people, it is a religion. I could, just as you
No,
said...
no. The Scientology is a recognized church. However, it's more leaning towards a cult because it's the only church I can think of that demands you make payment.
Mormonism? They take a tithe out of your salary.
Yeah, they're demanding payment. When you go to church, the donation plate comes around, and when you tithe, you're expected to tithe, 15% or whatever. It's like a tip. It's hard to explain. You don't have to. You don't have to give the church anything.
No, but Mormonism, you do. You have to pay.
Yeah, because the Mormons are securing their place on a sterile plane where they will become gods themselves.
I mean, I guess my perspective is clear. I don't need to kind of go over it, but I guess my question to the religious people is: when you believe what you believe, how can you then say that Scientology is any less of a faith? To me, they're all ridiculous. Because they're the same thing. They believe what's written in a book. Granted, the book's a lot younger. But it's essentially the same thing. From my perspective, at least.
I mean, back to what Evader said. Evader said it's not really a religion, but in the end, I think I could call anything not a religion. I could go up to a guy who who's a Muslim, and I could say, your religion isn't a religion. I mean, it's always like, everybody, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, basically, so I can think that I don't know what it's called, Islam is not a religion, while other people do. And it's the same with Scientology. Some people think it's a religion, but others don't. The majority think it isn't, so...
I think Scientology's on the border, really. I mean, Islam has been established for so long.
I think, yeah, I mean, P. Daddy raises a point. I accept that when I die, and obviously this is my belief, that when I die, nothing happens. I don't get any kind of afterlife. There's no such thing as ghosts or boogeymen or Bigfoot or any of the other nonsense. I think that when I die, I die. That is it. There is nothing, and I don't personally feel the need to be comforted by some afterlife to get on with my life. I don't need that comfort, that security, and I think that comes down to a lot. Are you, the believers, that is, are you afraid of when you die nothing happening? Does the thought of no afterlife scare you?
No.
I'll go one further. I'm not even afraid to die.
But that's because you believe in an afterlife.
And for the simple fact that when my time comes, that's it. And yes, I do believe in the afterlife, and I do believe where I will be going after I die, and I leave my body behind.
Okay, but
unlike most Christians, I don't sit around worrying. Most of them sit around in fear, like, oh, I don't want to die. I don't want this to happen. Oh no, end of the world, I'm going to freak out. No, none of that. When it happens, it happens.
Yeah, but what I'm asking is if, obviously it's not going to happen, but if I presented to you today absolute, undeniable proof that there was no afterlife. Obviously, it doesn't exist. The proof it doesn't exist. But if I presented that to you today, and then everybody knew that there was no afterlife, would that scare you?
No,
Okay,
because
that's fine.
because that's just you showing me something.
What people
No,
can
the
still
only-
hold
no,
anyways.
you're missing the point, Zito. What I'm trying to say is that, I'm not trying to say that, discourage you from your belief that there is an afterlife or there isn't an afterlife. What I'm saying to you is if you knew for a fact that there was no afterlife, try and believe this for a moment, would that thought scare you?
I mean, personally, it would scare me because then I'd to be worried what would happen after. I mean, I do believe in an afterlife, but then the thing is, if I knew there wasn't an afterlife, I'd be kind of worried. It's like, well, what's going to happen next? Where am I going to go? What's going to happen?
Well, nothing.
I guess-
That's my point.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess.
But then you got to ask yourself the question.
So
if
so
you
what
die-
what you're asking is, okay, we die, there's no afterlife, but what you're saying is, if you could prove to us beyond shadow of a doubt
Yes.
that there was, would my views change?
No. No, I'm not attempting to change your views here. All I'm asking is, if it was proven fact that there was no afterlife and it was universally accepted by everybody, religious and non-religious, would the thought of dying frighten you?
No.
Okay, that's all I wanted to know. I wanted to know if your Bible had been rewritten, and all mentions of afterlife and heaven and hell, etc., had been removed, and when it said in your Bible, when you die, nothing happens. Would that frighten you? I guess the point I'm trying to make is, do a lot of people adopt these religions because they want the comfort of knowing that when they die, they go somewhere better?
Most people who first start looking into it is because they want something more from their life than what they have right now. They have an emptiness they want to fill that they haven't been able to fill with everything else in the world.
But the thing is, Funky, you say when you die, there's nothing, but
Yes.
what is nothing? If you think, I mean,
No, nothing.
I
nothing.
cease to
That's it.
exist. That is it.
Black.
I cease to exist. Same thing
What,
that
so I
happens when
just-
your cat or your
so
dog
I
dies.
I just see a black screen or static.
You don't see nothing. Your consciousness ceases to exist. Just like it was before you were born.
But the question raised, where does it go?
It doesn't go. It's not a physical thing.
Yeah, but that's the belief.
The
Belief.
body goes nowhere, Vader. The spirit.
No, I
goes
mean
up.
like the spirit. Where does the spirit go once the
Well,
body
I don't-
dies? That's,
I believe
that's
the
the whole
spirit
What
thing.
is a
Funky's
fallacy.
saying at this point is that there is no spirit once you die. That's it. He's removed the spirit aspect from it.
The idea of a soul or a spirit to me is complete romantic fallacy. I don't think such a thing exists.
Would you say people rationalize thinking that there's an afterlife based off the fact that there's no? Well, no, it's kind of redundant actually.
Well, you could
Because
just
there's
ask
no-
the question anyways. I mean, it's a debate. Or
I'm pretty much saying what we're talking about. I mean, people rationalize believing in an afterlife because there's no proof against it. We know that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I want to be absolutely clear about is, I'm an atheist. I believe that God doesn't exist, there is no afterlife, there is no spirit. But, at the same time, I completely acknowledge that I cannot know for sure. I can't prove to you either way. I don't know. And if somebody presented to me tomorrow, concrete evidence that everything that I believe in is wrong, I would change my views. And I guess that's the ultimate difference between religion or theism and atheism. This is a little quote from something for you here as well, and it's only 2 lines. It's very short, and it rhymes, so that's a bonus. But science adjusts its views based on what's observed. Faith is the denial of observation so that belief can be preserved. It's like that little rhyme.
poetry.
In motion. But yeah, I mean, essentially, I don't know, and I can't prove to anybody, and any atheist who claims to be able to prove is lying, because nobody can prove. But at the end of the day, from an atheist perspective, I'm not the one that's making this fantastic claim, and the burden of proof rests on those people making the fantastic claim. you're claiming that this mythical being exists and he created heaven and hell and people, etc., in 7 days. That's a fantastic claim, and it's the people who make that claim need to prove it, not the other way around. I don't need to disprove it. You need to prove it, and that's one of the big differences, I guess. I mean, when it comes down, well, actually, one thing I want to bring up actually is because living in Europe, UK, obviously Europe, atheism is growing rapidly over in Europe and the UK, and there's more and more people believing like I do. And what worries me as an atheist are countries like America. When you've got, for example, let me ask you guys, the religious people in this call. Do you believe in stuff like talking snake?
A talking
How's
snake.
Talking snake from the Garden of Eden.
No.
Okay,
No.
Zito.
Because I know,
Went to
which
get
is
his
going to
books.
sound stupid because it'll point back to something else. Because I know snakes can't talk. I mean, I guess that is scientifically proven that snakes can't get up and say, "Hey, could you pass me my hat?"
No, I'm not asking you whether or not. We know generally snakes can't talk, but do you believe the story in the Bible of the talking snake in the Garden of Eden is true?
I've never read the Bible.
But you must know the story where the snake
Yeah, I know.
tempts
I don't
Eve
really.
with an apple
Yeah,
from the tree.
yeah. I know
Forbidden
that
fruit
story.
or whatever. Actually, it never says apple; it's forbidden fruit. Zito, do you believe in in a talking snake from the Bible?
He's gone away for a minute.
Oh, okay. All right then. What about Noah then?
Noah's Ark?
Yes. Now let me just give you this before you think about whether or not you believe that story is true. Let me just give you these little numbers here.
It didn't happen. I'm gonna point it out right now. It didn't happen. I did
I
an
don't
essay on
believe
it a year ago for my history course, and all the proof, all this. I could even pull up the essay for you and give you all the proof, disapproval of everything about how not enough the water in the world could even rise to sea that high.
Okay.
That
So-
and there's no way that Noah could build an ark that could. And there's another question: how did he get all the animals onto the ship? I mean, two of any animal, he would need to build a hell of a strong of a ship. How much time did he have to build the ship?
That's the point I'm making. Right now, I may have my numbers slightly wrong here, and I'm not sure if it's 5 million or 5 billion. Billion's probably closer. But right now, there's 5 billion different species of animal, insect on this planet.
Yes.
And that is only 1% of all the animals that have ever existed. 99% of all the creatures that have lived on this planet are extinct now. So, working on just 5 billion, in pairs, that's 10 billion. Can you imagine how big his boat would have to be? It's impossible. It's ridiculous.
It would be the size of not Rhode Island. That's a little small.
But then, the point that I was trying to make then is if the talking snake is ridiculous, if Noah's Ark is ridiculous, how if those stories are rooted in the book, why if those are false, why is any why is any of it true?
Okay, sorry for my silence. I had to go gather all my stuff. Continue to state.
I want to get into just the topic of why people believe in religion, and a lot of religious beliefs and people coming from no beliefs at all come from the foundations of the fact that they believe in the certain stories or certain aspects of the organized religion, and by doing so they allow themselves to listen entirely to the religious beliefs, so they hear a certain story and they coincide with that beliefs, and then they allow for themselves to listen to the judgment or the viewpoints of the church. That's one reason I'm finding that people listen and come to religion.
Okay. Okay. Let's ask this question then. What is good? What is good about having faith or believing?
Well, look. Let me counter question you with the exact opposite of what he said. What's wrong with having faith? Why take away a small thing that all in all doesn't affect your day?
Because religion does more harm than it does good.
I would disagree with that. I'd say certain members use religion to do harm. I wouldn't say in general religion does harm. I think taking we can go with the Westboro Baptist Church. They take Christianity and turn it into something terrible, something really terrible. There has been in the Catholic Church molestings, but those are by individuals. That's not the church's stance or the Christian stance on things.
Okay. Which
so-
leads me, do you believe then, which leads me on to this question, do you believe that I as an atheist am immoral?
No, but that's me. As an open-minded Christian, sitting here saying, I accept you for what you are.
Do you think I'm going to burn in hell?
In all honesty,
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
I don't think anybody actually burns in hell.
Oh, okay, figure of speech, but do you think I'm going to, whatever you got, you want to call it, hell?
I don't care.
It's hard to actually answer that question because in people's dying moments they make changes of mind.
Yeah, but that...
I think as it stands right now,
Uh-huh.
if you carried on with your train of thought,
Yep.
Going on denouncing God over and over again,
Yeah.
then you won't be in heaven. Where you'll be, I don't know. I haven't studied what the scholars make hell out to be. For all we know, hell could be just staying here and suffering more so than we are now.
Okay. Just a question. Just wanted to know what you thought would happen to me. I mean, going back to the question that we had, what good does faith do? And I mean, I know you said that it's down to certain individuals, but really, when you think about it, wars, crusades, Inquisition, 9/11, arranged marriage to minors, blowing up schools, honor rape, human sacrifice, burning witches, condoning slavery, systematic rape of children. There's nothing good about that, and I don't want any part of it.
Oh yeah, many people do a lot of things claiming them to be in the name of God.
I think you might be
It
generalizing
doesn't mean
a bit.
that I'm not agreeing with any of the more modern things. I mean, historically, back in the days of kings and queens, yeah, everybody fought in the name of God because they needed their faith to get them through battle. It gave them strength. It gave them courage, more courage than their king could give them. You go back to the first Crusades. A lot of people back then didn't believe in God, but they were still going to the church and giving the church exorbitant amounts of money to secure themselves a place in heaven, since they are going out and fighting for God, who they don't necessarily believe in. So to put it in perspective, back in those days, you're a lord of your manor, Funky. You don't believe in God whatsoever.
So
But the king has promised you riches and lands beyond your wildest dreams if you go and fight his crusade in the name of God. Now, you being a non-believer, you're still going to agree to do this, and you're still going to need the church to support what you're doing, because the church was almost the final authority in all things, second to only the king. So whether you believed it or not, you'd still be flying the colors of God as you went into battle.
Yeah.
And who knows, through the toil you would encounter during those times, you may in fact come to discover that your views could have been wrong, and therefore you convert. Now, whether that remains throughout the rest of your life, it's not for me to say, but that's just what it is. And it's not a placebo effect of strength, P. Daddy, because they're not being told, if you believe in God, you will be strong. They believe themselves. If they put their faith in God, God will grant them the strength
I believe
to go forth.
I would have to kind of disagree with you there. They are clearly being told that believing in God and the church and and the Bible makes them a better person. That is what churches do. That's the purpose of churches.
No, that's what the Bible does. What church? The main function of a church is to bring God's people together under one roof so they can have fellowship and receive spiritual guidance. But they all have to come to discover this themselves. They can't. You can't just tell someone their whole lives. I know people who grew up in the church. And they were told their whole lives what to believe, and as soon as they reached the age of maturity, they rebelled. And rebelled in a huge, astonishing way.
You realize that there's a lot of exceptions to that, you know. You haven't seen, I think it was Jesus Camp. Have you seen that?
No.
Yeah, I've seen that.
That's just a horror film, if you want to watch
But
that.
that's another thing, just like the Westboro Baptist Church, where they're putting this propagandic message out there, giving the actual religion itself a bad image.
Here's what I'll say. I say, if you're going to say that faith is entirely bad, I think faith gives a lot of people strength and passion, but there's obviously the extreme that you're going to experience. So you're going to see, you can't generalize everybody in Islam who has faith in Allah to be bad. There was a few little exceptions who caused 9/11. You can't, and then obviously there's this whole American belief after 9/11.
That was an extremist. But I mean, it's just an extremist group, and now we could carry off into that tangent of right-wing extremists and all the terrible things they're doing in the world, and how it's all making the image of God just a terrible thing.
I think you misunderstand as well. I'm not for 1 minute saying that religious people are bad people, because they're not. That's complete nonsense. And just like with any any religions, you have, as you've said, extremists and, people who are just content to get on with their own lives. But I do disagree with the statement that, I don't think that having beliefs that are potentially false is a good thing. And you mentioned that, you have people who convert on their deathbed, and all that says to me is that they're scared, weak, and they need something to believe in.
Exactly, and that's why they're doing it on their deathbed.
So,
but the shit if it is, if they truly believe what they're doing, and they're not just doing it because they're scared, all their sins are forgiven, they're accepted into heaven. Just like that.
That's not moral,
and that's looked like a scapegoat thing. Like, I can go kill people and rape people and commit crimes constantly, and then just, all of a sudden, last second, I repent, and then boom. It doesn't necessarily work like that. But if you lived your life, like an average person, you didn't do anything wrong, so to speak, more than like the next person. Like you cut in line, or you download a movie without paying for it, blah 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 blah. That's nothing that can't be forgiven at the end of the day. No one's saying they can't be content and believe what they believe, P. Daddy. I'm not saying that at all. The people who go out and convert the savages in the jungles were doing so because that's what they were instructed to do by their church, and most of those people wound up dead. So I'm completely against going out and trying to convert the people. I support missionary work that doesn't go out and try and missionary work that goes out and doesn't try and convert everybody, but they're actually out there just helping people because that's what they want to do. And I'm talking the ones that don't have commercials on TV showing the sad little children of Africa starving to death, and then showing the happy picture of what could be to get your money out of your pocket. I'm talking about the people who raise the money on their own and go over there on their own and try and do what they can,
But
and don't expect anything in return.
What would you like? I know there's the missionaries. Are Jehovah's Witnesses? Do they want to convert you? Or do they just want to?
They want to convert you because they have to convert you. If they don't get their numbers up, like if they don't get the conversions, they don't get into heaven.
Yeah,
Because
that's their mission.
in the faith of Jehovah, there's only so many slots in heaven, and the more people they convert, the better off they are in getting that reservation that they want.
It's like a sales competition.
That's
How many-
exactly what it is.
But how many would you have to convert? Does it? Do they
As
get
many
told how
as
many
you
to convert?
can. As many as you can.
The
So
closer
I'm
you get to
guessing-
God, the more you get to convert.
I could
So I'm
just
guessing it's a-
imagine. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
just-
I was. Gonna,
it's a race.
Okay, no, right. That's good. Okay. Go ahead.
It's a race though. It's a race among all the Jehovah's, so that if you're able to get the most converted, then you have the best chance of getting into heaven. That's the whole challenge among the people.
Yeah. But I was gonna say, isn't it just? I forgot. Funky, what were you gonna say?
I was just gonna say I can just imagine, like the weekly Jehovah's Witness meeting or whatever, and they've got like a whiteboard at the front, and he's calling right, Chris, you haven't hit your target this month. It just sounds silly, but that's
Your percentage has gone down to get in
Yeah.
heaven by 10%.
And
But
that's what it
probably-
is. And that's why they travel in twos, is because that way they can bully you. And they can actually sit there. And then they'll sit there, and they believe what they believe, and that's good for them, but they're not telling me anything I don't already know, and I don't need their Jehovah to save me at the end of the day.
What do you think? I did mention it briefly earlier. What do you think of religion as part of government? Then I was kind of thinking about America in particular.
Oh, you mean the separation of church and state?
Yes, exactly.
I don't think religious discussion should be discouraged in church, but I don't think or in schools, but I don't think everyone should be forced to do a morning prayer. Like, my grandpa would disagree with me on this, but I don't think forcing people to do something is the right way to get them to believe in something and to follow something and to put their faith in something.
I did mention it earlier, and I think that Europe as a continent is more progressive towards like atheistic beliefs than countries like America, and that does worry me quite a lot. America is a very powerful country, and if you've got people with hands on nuclear device buttons that believe in talking snakes and Noah's Ark and all that other stuff, that's a problem for me. And you hear a lot of Americans saying, but America's a Christian nation. Well, it's not really. I mean, you've got. I don't know the American Constitution, but I'm pretty sure that it does say in there that church and state should be separated. And then you've got like the founding fathers of America, and these are direct quotes. Benjamin Franklin, lighthouses are more useful than churches. You've got John Adams. This would be the best of all possible worlds if there were no religion in it. Thomas Jefferson, Christianity is the most perverted system that ever shone on man. Those are direct quotes from America's founding fathers. So for them to say that America is a Christian nation, it's never been a Christian nation until recently. When you've got people like George W. Bush, I know he's not president anymore, but
you got to remember, church back then was different than churches now, and the founding fathers of America left England and the church state for a reason. So it's not surprising that they're so adamantly against it. Plus, I'm sure they were all part of the Masons anyway, which in themselves, the Masons have an entire section dedicated to the pursuit of Christianity.
Well, I'm going to be the devil's advocate to Funky. In 1982, Canada had the Patriation, the Constitution Act, which established the Charter and the rights and freedoms. And with that charter, the preamble to it, the pre-part of it, it recognizes God as a source of the establishment of ethical standards, and the basis of the country's ethics and laws as a contributor in the Constitution.
Since we're still on the point of America, you Americans can tell me what it's called after. It's one nation under God with liberty and justice for all, whatever the hell you guys call that. I mean, religion's worked right in there, and I'm sure that's old. One of you guys can tell me that. Whatever that is, your little speech you guys give in the morning before the flag.
Yeah, I can't remember it.
I guess going back to what you said, I'm sorry, you said Aveda, you said something about God being the ethical, what did you say?
Well, I'll read it to you. It's in the start of the Charter of Rights and Freedoms in Canada, which is like the American Constitution, which we had remade in 1982, which says, whereas Canada is founded on the principles that recognize the supremacy of God and the rule of law. It's essentially saying that the country and its origins based a lot of the laws and standards from the teachings of God.
Yeah, and I mean, we have that in this country. I mean, the Queen is the head of the Church, I think, the Church of England. So, there is some connection there. I'm not denying that.
I don't know about your national anthem, but in the Canadian national anthem, it directly relates God in there. Keeping the land glorious and free.
Well, I don't even know the lyrics to the UK one, because technically I'm Welsh. Let's have a look.
Hawk's here. Hawk, speak up.
Sing the national anthem,
What?
Hawk. No, it's
can't remember it.
It does. I've got it up here, and it does make direct links. It's God save our gracious Queen, God save the Queen, blah blah blah. So, yeah, there's definitely a connection there.
There we go.
But it was also written in
what you said earlier about
1745.
the other religions that all have the same story, where the boy is born of virgin birth, immaculate conception.
Yeah.
It's not surprising that all the religions have a similar story, because you got to think in those times, all those people were intermixing with each other. Like all those different belief systems and everything. Like the Egyptians were trading, the Greeks were trading. So it's not surprising that some of their bits and pieces all work together. Now, I don't know if Jesus was immaculately born or not. I'm pretty sure he wasn't born on Christmas, like they say. It's more the same. He was born in the summer, and they changed it to Christmas because that's a significant time on one of the solar calendars or whatever the hell they call it. I can't remember that far back right now. But Immaculate Conception, it's a good way to start off everything when you're going down this route. You know what I mean? There was a man named Jesus.
Oh, yeah.
There's no.
I don't
right,
dispute that.
and he did go around and he did teach, and his father was a carpenter. And he himself was a carpenter, and the brother of Jesus was also a carpenter. But Jesus went on and taught the word of his father, his actual father, and that's the message that his disciples, when they wrote it, you got to remember the words of Jesus weren't written down. It was his disciples that put it to parchment later. So that's why some parts it's the same. Like, you can read through the whole New Testament, and most of it is the exact same, but some parts are different because of how it's interpreted.
Like I said, Zito, I clearly said earlier that I'm no expert on the Bible, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but these three particular topics, original sin, Immaculate Conception, and virgin birth, those are not in the Bible, are they?
It'd be in the Catholic Bible, and I'm not familiar with that particular version because I'm not Catholic. Those are Catholic terms from the Roman Church.
Okay.
I'm more of the new era, so to speak. Like, it's all Christianity, but the Catholics are different than it's weird because everyone's Christian. Like, everyone is Christian, but each denomination celebrates in a different way.
Yeah.
Like, the breaking of the bread signifying the body of Christ, the Catholics call that transubstantiation, because they find it blasphemous to say this is the actual body of Christ.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. No, I understand.
Yeah, so and then you get into like the little subgroups of Christianity, which we discussed earlier, which are the really nasty little horrid bits. But I think Max said it earlier, and if you believe Judaism, Christianity, it used to just be Judaism and Islam, and they both believe up to a certain point in the Bible that their founding father of church is the son of Abraham. But they split. It splits off at one point because back in those days Abraham had a mistress. So the Jews go with the son born of his wife, where the Islamics go with the son born of his wet nurse. So it splits there. But up until that point, it's the same. Now, if two major founding these are old. These are like the original religions when we're establishing things here.
Yeah.
If they both believe the same thing up to the same point where they have their one difference of who the actual messenger of God is, wouldn't that be a little bit of proof that you would need to start thinking, well, maybe some of what the Bible says is actually true?
And I've never disputed that there is probably some things in the Bible that are true. Like I don't dispute that there was a guy named Jesus, but it's the magic that I have a problem with, and that needs backing up.
The miracles?
Miracles, magic, yeah.
Walking on water into wine,
talking snakes,
loaves and fishes, feeding everything.
Yeah.
The burning bush, the talking snakes.
Yeah.
Well, all those, whether or not they actually happened like they said, they're more of a teaching method more than anything. Like the serpent represents Satan, right? The snake was the devil.
Temptation.
Now, temptation. Now, the interesting thing is there's in Jerusalem, in that area, there's the Church of the Black Snake, which believes that Satan is the way to heaven, not Jesus. Jesus was a false prophet according to this church. This church says believe in Satan, you go to heaven. It's not like the Satanists. Like everything's almost parallel, except you're praying to Satan for salvation. You're praying to Satan to save you and bring you to heaven, where you'll live in eternal glory in the kingdom of God.
Okay, and does that concept seem ridiculous to you, or?
It was surprising to me, as it was something I hadn't heard about until I actually heard about it. Whether I agree with what they believe or not, I'm not really going to comment on it, because the one thing I do take very seriously from the Bible, and it'll be hard to believe, is actually not judging others. I'll call you out on certain things if it's something like really out there, but when it comes to your actual belief structure, if you want to sit around and believe that Satan will save you, then more power to you. You know what I mean?
What's your stance on theory of evolution then?
You can't have one without the other if you really think about it. The Bible doesn't discuss evolution, but like I said earlier, the Bible doesn't cover all the way back there. And like some Christian families who are really scared about the outside world and influences will tell their kids that Jesus put dinosaur bones there to help bring people to the faith. That makes even less sense. So I'm sure the similarities are there. You can't deny the similarities that are there between primates and humans. Just, even the way they function. I mean, but you can look at anything and find similarities in functionality ways. Do I believe in evolution? To an extent.
Where do you draw the line exactly?
I'd have to draw the line about 6,000 years. It's a little over that number now, but once the first historical documents in the Bible show up, but no one's to say we're like, God created man and woman. Okay, yeah. Sure, he did that. But explain all the fossilized records leading up to it. Are those primate species that just never made it? That's where it gets kind of fuzzy for me. It says Garden of Eden, but at the same time, I look at that as a teaching thing, where you need to put your faith and trust, and not succumb to temptation. Because once you fall into temptation, you stray from the path. And the Garden of Eden, in my opinion, is the path that every Christian wants to be on. And when you stray from it, it's hard to come back to it.
Well, it sounds like what you're saying to me is all the, let's say, fantastic stories, then, like the Garden of Eden, Noah's Ark, all that type of thing. It sounds like what you're saying, it's not to be taken literally.
In my personal opinion, not influencing anybody, yes.
But then, that doesn't, I mean, that to me, it's almost like somebody talking down to you, treating you like an idiot. Oh, he won't understand how this thing works, so let's make it into a little kid's magic story for him.
Well, the Bible is full of stories. Every story is there to teach you something.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, why... I understand what you're saying, that, there's a principle behind the stories, but rather than, you saying that you think these stories are not to be taken literally, and that they're... People believe this stuff, man, and that's a big problem. If you're...
No. It's not a problem, though. That's the thing. I don't have issue with it. That's the one thing where you and I differ on all of this, is you say you're okay with it, but when it comes down to actually believing in it, then you're like, no. But that's the standpoint that atheists take, and I understand that.
I just
because you acknowledge that, yeah, there could be a God, but all his little magic tricks, you're against that.
I don't acknowledge. I believe that there is no God, but I don't know for sure.
But you still sit there and say it's his magic tricks that you're having issue with.
Well, yeah,
if there's no God, there's no magic trick, so there's no magic trick to have issue with. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, but what I'm saying is, how can people? It's kind of beyond me how people can believe this stuff that's in there. If it was in Harry Potter or something, they'd think, oh, special effects, or it's it's just a story. But why do they believe these equally fantastic claims just because they're written in the Bible?
Because they want to believe. They've chosen.
I want lots of things, but that doesn't make it right.
But doesn't make it wrong either.
No, absolutely. But that's the whole. I think this is the main point from an atheistic standpoint. Is no, it doesn't make it right, or it doesn't make it wrong. But if you're going to believe something, you should believe it for a reason, and not just because you want to believe it. You should, like you've had a personal experience, so I can understand why you put your faith where you put it. But for the millions of other religious people out there who haven't had that experience and just believe it because they were indoctrinated into the faith by their parents, or whatever means they got to their faith. There should be a reason why they believe what they believe, other than just because they feel it's the right thing or it's what I want to believe.
So,
but the whole point of this debate is nobody's going to convert anybody. I'm pretty sure anything that I've said has not faulted what you think, and likewise here. People are going to believe what they want to believe. So when you mentioned earlier 6,000 years, what you're saying that the Earth is 6,000 years old?
No, I'm saying the Bible was written 6,000 years ago. The Old Testament. I'm not saying the Earth is much older than that. I already acknowledged that with the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Millions.
I'm saying the written history of biblical times started about 6,000 years ago, if not longer now. When quill was put to parchment and they started recording what they were seeing. Pete Eddy, no one in this call is qualified to answer that question. If you're serious about that question, then you need to speak to your parents about it, or another trusted adult that's close to you. I'm not saying that in a condescending way. That's just honestly what it is. No one here is qualified to answer that question for you.
I know that I couldn't answer the question.
I want to.
Wait, what's the question?
No, go ahead, Vader.
Well, I want to start off something different, but
What? Something not religious?
well, not religious, but
You'd have to say that for
Something-
next week.
a few questions like what's your opinion on things such as Sharia law?
Is what?
Sharia law.
Law?
Islamic laws.
Never heard of it.
Well, what is it? You
It's
explain?
religious beliefs dictating the state's
Laws.
viewpoints on law. So punishment, stuff like that. They have a lot of the very. You can see it in some of the states. So Saudi
wait,
Arabia.
you're
is
saying it's
notable.
basically the church tells the government what to do as punishment?
It's
No, no.
non-separation from the church beliefs from the state.
It's
I don't-
essentially Islamic law, like stonings and beheadings and all that kind
Well,
of
yeah.
stuff.
I don't agree with that. I mean, because I don't think religion should have anything to do with punishments. I mean, if someone did a
But-
crime,
But that's their culture and society.
I mean, we can't
That's-
we can't change it.
That's just what it is.
I mean,
Would you be fine with living in a nation as Sharia law?
I suppose it depends if you're Islamic. If you believe
Yeah.
in what
I
the Quran teaches you, then I'm sure you'd have no problem with it.
mean, you're posing quite the
Zito, your
one-sided-
mic. You got
Oh, is that better?
Yeah.
yes.
You're posing quite the one-sided narrow thing. You're just asking us, would we want to live in an Islamic state? My answer is no. I'm not Islamic.
Yeah. I mean, if I was Islamic, I would probably prefer to live in a
I mean,
state
it better.
like that.
And the fact is, in the West, it's different than the East. You could ask that question: would you guys want to live in a Western state like that? The answer is going to be no.
Yeah, I'm sure the answer
Yeah.
would be the same from them. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
I mean, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say there's one thing that hasn't been mentioned, which I'm glad about. Like often, I don't have these debates often, but when I have had them previously, the question that most people bring up is, if you're an atheist, if you don't believe in God or the Bible, where do you get your morals from? And I despise that question because it to me it's just silly because I simply normally answer it with a question back. You give me an example of something a believer can do that an atheist cannot, and of
Well-
course there's no response to that.
You
I-
can easily come back to that.
Something a believer can do that an atheist can't.
Yeah, something good a
to
believer can
heaven?
do that an athist cannot. I'm talking
Go to
about
heaven?
in life.
In life,
Yes,
not the afterlife, just in life.
yes.
Everybody's on an equal plane. Right? It's not one thing or the other. It's not black and white. It's everybody can do. Anybody can do anything they want to do. Whether they can determine whether it's right or wrong is their own moral compass. I mean, your parents can teach you don't kill someone. The church can teach you don't kill someone. That doesn't mean you're not going to go out and kill someone if you want to.
No, absolutely, and that's the distinction I was trying to make, is that you don't need to be religious to be ethical and moral. Like I said, you guys didn't bring it up, so it wasn't directed at any of you. I'm just saying that it does come up quite often in these kind of discussions. But yeah, the idea that you have to be, a believer or religious to be a moral, good human being is not true.
I think
Now,
you have an easy comeback to that.
You were raised non-believing, right, Funky?
No, right. Let me. I actually wanted to tell you this as well. Well, I mean, I was christened. I am christened, and my parents. I've never once been to church with my parents. Never once, said a prayer or read a psalm. I was christened merely because it's the thing to do when you have a child. At least over here at the time it was. And it's only recently that I've told my parents that I'm an atheist and I don't believe in God. And it not because I was trying to hide it. I don't try to hide it from anybody. But because I just assumed they were as well. Because of my upbringing. And they kind of did a double take and they said, what? And that blew my mind. Because my upbringing was the least religious upbringing you can have. So yeah, I mean, take it as whichever way you want. I mean, I was christened. My parents apparently believe in God, but they're not religious in any way. So I don't really know what you'd call those type of people.
Not
Basically
strong
the same with
Christians.
me. I mean, I was Christian as well, but like the same thing with you, Funky. I've never been to church once.
Do your
they
parents go to church?
Active.
No,
Or
never.
just on
No,
special occasions?
same with mine.
Never at all?
Not even
No
on
one
special
ever goes
occasions.
to church.
Never.
Okay, well, they're believers that aren't walking the path.
Yeah,
That's the actual term for it.
They follow the morals and the stories behind a religion, but they're not actively participating in a religious community and going consistently and hearing the sermons and trying to keep up with their church and the viewpoint. So it's not a big thing, big deal. A lot of people do it.
But
Hell of
on the same subject, my father, and this is going to sound ridiculous. Well, at least it does to me. He also believes, and this is the word. This is true. The honest truth. Now, he believes in Santa. So much so
Nice.
that he swears on my life to my face that he saw him. So take that as you will. I don't know what to think of that really.
My
Your
grandfather
dad
was
is
a
awesome.
priest. My grandfather was he led a church in Toronto. Yep.
I guess
Hey, bud.
going back to the faith and belief thing, obviously Zido, you believe in God, and some of the other guys in the call do as well, and on the chat. Do you believe in Bigfoot, leprechauns?
Oh yeah,
My
I
brother is
hope
Bigfoot.
nobody in the chat. You didn't hurt anybody in the chat's feelings.
Yeah, I hope you
If they
didn't
believe
ruin the
Santa.
whole Santa thing for people. I hope
Oh,
Pete Eddie
damn,
believed
damn.
in Santa.
Sorry, yeah, Santa's real, guys. He comes but once a year.
Sexual innuendo.
Yeah.
That's kind of the thing, Kieran, with religious debates. They tend to just go back and forth.
I almost find your question kind of silly.
Oh,
Really.
okay, yeah, I'm fine.
Like, you know what I mean? It's not. It just doesn't hold stock in what we were talking about.
Well, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is,
it's just one of those things.
I guess I'm pretty confident saying you don't believe in those things that I said, like Bigfoot and Tooth Fairy.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Oh, when I was a kid, I was never raised religious. This is my own choice. Well, when I was a kid, I was raised to believe in Santa. That's how I do it in my house. Santa comes at Christmas time for any kid that's in my house. It's just how it is.
Mhm.
Tooth Fairy comes and gives you money when you lose a tooth.
But as an
That's how it
adult, I'm assuming you don't still believe in those things.
No, I don't lose any more teeth, so I don't get any money from the
Well, no, the
Nice
Tooth Fairy
dodge.
is real. I mean, it did a movie.
Yeah, but that was The Rock. That doesn't count.
No, that was the Tooth Fairy.
I guess the point I was trying to make is, You know, people generally don't believe in these things, and the reason they don't believe in them is because there's no proof they exist. And what confuses me is why people don't take the same stance with God.
I'd say that's a tough one because, man, I'm going to use this and I may offend somebody, but I don't care. To be totally honest with you, I think the influence given over the younger generation is what's steering them, the peer pressure to follow the group. An example would be you go to a Christian high school, you're more inclined to go to church.
Yeah.
You go to a secular high school, you're more inclined to not go to church. But then in both circumstances, in the secular school, there could be the group of Christian kids who all get together and hang out, and you fall in with that group. Right? And as a kid, you're doing it more to fit in.
Yeah.
I think if you're going to actually learn about religion, you should do it whenever you want to do it. But I don't think you should make any sort of concrete decision until you're an adult.
Yeah.
And you're doing it for your own reasons, and not because that's what the group told you is going to happen.
Because that's another thing. You know, you often hear these people from various religions. You know, for example, I'm a Christian, and I believe in the one true God. Well, the truth of it is, most people, you know, I'm not commenting on any of you guys in specific because I don't know your upbringings, but most people are the faiths that they are because of their upbringing, i.e. their parents were that religion. And the same goes, you know, had your parents been born in Iran or Iraq, you wouldn't be a Christian or a Catholic. You'd be a Muslim. So it's kind of like national pride. It's something that you have no control over what country you're born in. So the religion that you end up ultimately following depends completely on where you're born to some degree. And, you know, to what, you know, social circumstances you're born.
You would say that a lot of your viewpoints would be based off of your culture that you grew up in and your family?
Well, I mean, yeah, to a degree, absolutely. But, you know, I grew up, you know, as I say, I was christened. My church is a Christian school. We had hymns and prayers every morning. We had religious studies. So, you know, I was brought up essentially as a Christian.
You were forced into it, though.
Yeah.
You didn't have the free will to choose.
Which I think is true of most people.
Which could very well explain why you're at this point today.
But that's the point I'm making, though, is that most people are brought up in that way, and they either accept what they're being taught, or they rebel against it, like me.
It's the ones who didn't have the opportunity to question and actually learn. That's where the issues come from.
If you're made to believe far enough, then you won't be open enough to look for other rational viewpoints.
To answer Maxwell's question real quick, sorry, Vader. God is an entity. He is not male or female. There's no specific. He's depicted as a man, but that's because during those times he was. Well, no, because he's depicted as a man because that's like a symbol of strength from the times when he's spoken about.
But
men are strong, women are weak.
You can't claim that he's not a man or a woman. He's an entity, though, because I don't know if he exists or if he is a man or woman or entity. So how can you know?
Well, that's my belief, because all the depictions of God are either as a light. We go to the Old Testament. He was the burning bush. He's the voice. But Jesus is the only real figure that's come down. He's a man. Other than that, the media turns God into a man. The cartoons turn God into a man with a big cloak and a big long beard. That's just how they turn everything.
I don't mean to interrupt, but I think we just shot across about half an hour of our time. If we want to end this at some point in time.
Can I just say a little poem then? And you're welcome to respond to it if you want. I just think it's an interesting poem. Is everybody cool with that? It's not very long. It's just a couple of minutes.
So
Okay. It's kind of, I mean, obviously, it's coming from my kind of perspective, so it does have a little dig at religion, but, if it was a religious poem, I'm sure the true would be opposite. It's only a couple of paragraphs, so it shouldn't take long, and it's just some of the things that we've gone over, and some of the questions that have been asked, so anyway. Life is full of mystery, yeah? But there are answers out there, and they won't be found by people sitting around looking serious and saying, "Isn't life mysterious? Let's sit here and hope. Let's call up the Pope. Let's go watch Oprah, interview Deepak Chopra. If you much watch telly, you should watch Scooby-Doo. That show was so cool, because every time there was a church with a ghoul, or a ghost in a school, they looked beneath the mask, and what was inside? The fucking janitor, or a dude who ran the water slide. Because throughout history, every mystery ever solved has turned out to be not magic. Does the idea that there might be knowledge frighten you? Does the idea that one afternoon on Wikipedia might enlighten you frighten you? Does the notion that there may not be a supernatural so blow your noodle that you would rather just stand in the fog of your inability to Google? Isn't this enough? Just this world? Just this beautiful, complex, wonderfully unfathomable natural world? How does it so fail to hold our attention that we have to diminish it with the invention of cheap man-made monsters and myths? That's it. If anybody wants to copy that, I'll email it. I only wanted to quote it because it mentioned Scooby-Doo.
I love that show. It wasn't for you meddling kids.
But does anybody else want to say anything before we go offline then?
Statements?
I mean,
I don't need to read passages to prove my points or little poems.
Oh. Wow.
just the Bible, yeah?
That's all I need.
Okay. Well, I mean, like I say, we weren't trying to convert anybody. That it's never going to happen. People's beliefs are, they aren't going to change just by some people making a few statements, and that's kind of the problem with belief. I mean, at least from a religious perspective. So, I mean, I find it interesting though. I do like talking to people about religion because I like to see how they justify their beliefs. And that's all it's about at the end of the day. But somebody wants us to do an adventure map next time. We can do that.
No, P Daddy Santa Israel.
Yeah, we've just. I was just joking.
Israel.
P Daddy.
That was
He's
Big
a fantastic
You know what, P
comedian.
Daddy? Santa's real, and every year he comes down your mom's chimney.
I will prove to you that he's real. 1 second.
How are you gonna prove that he's real?
I will.
Well, hold on. If anybody wants to link this into the live stream chat,
What have you got?
or if you want to watch it,
What is it? Oh, Sharia law. Okay, yeah, they can take a look at it.
it's not Sharia law. The YouTube link.
Maxwell hasn't got a chimney. You shit out of luck, Maxwell.
He goes to your balcony if you're in a condo.
Do you have a fireplace?
Or he opens a sliding glass door.
Pretty much
Do you
Santa
have-
is a
do you have
burglar,
fake
but he
fireplace?
leaves stuff.
Because you can make it work as long as you have the tree.
Oh, Merry Christmas, everybody.
You got
I don't know if
Santa.
anybody-
No.
Yes, I am.
You're a liar.
And then you're not Matt Damon.
My
I am
Charlatan.
Matt Damon.
Did you know Matt Damon's an atheist?
Santa Claus is on Skype.
Santa Claus is an atheist as well. Oh.
You've got in this call Matt Damon, Santa Claus, and Alex Trebek.
Oh, nice.
Greatest meeting of the minds.
I should probably put that on there for them.
Well, I think we're officially out of things to say. So
Yeah, we were all.
we forgot the- we
There's
forgot the
always
standard
something to
intro.
say. Everything we have to say is don't do drugs,
th-
kids. Stay in school.
Th-
Don't do
this
crack.
was the Oddpod with Zito and Funky and some other people started
Later.
talking.
Hey, what the hell, man?
Hey, I didn't have anything to say about
I think Hawk and Bradley were here this week, but it
Hey,
was so
man.
damn quiet. I don't know.
I had nothing to say about religion. I only
I
cared.
mean,
So
but
next week, what we're gonna do is you're gonna field your questions to us, and then in return, Bradley and Hawk will be speaking the whole time, and we'll remain quiet in the background.
what are we gonna discuss next week?
Next week we will discuss a surprise, so you'll have to tune in next week to find out
And
what we're gonna talk about.
Next week, we'll also have Melk doing his dance for us.
No,
Yeah, that's right.
I don't have a webcam.
You better go get one for next week.
Well, Forrest, Santa says, "No, you're not getting a car. Did you know that Boo the Nigerian prince is Santa?" There you go. Now you know. All right. So we'll see you guys next week.
Yep,
We did it
thank
about
you for
half an
watching.
hour longer. And
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. Spread the word of our podcast.
I thought you were going to say spread the word of Jesus then.
No, not Jesus. Screw that.
Go with Christ, bro. Go with Christ.
spread the word. All right. So we will see you guys later.